Good morning, Sinkers and Nevis, and welcome to Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It is a beautiful Friday here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So it's Sugar City, St. Kitts, and Queen City, Nevis. It's Friday, May 13, 2022, and it is 11 minutes past the hour of 11 here in the studios of WINNFM 98.9. Now, I have on my program, no stranger to the WINNFM family, no stranger to the WINNFM listeners. I have here with me Sandra Quilly Arthurton. And, of course, today we will be talking about the political climate in St. Kitts and Nevis and all that has been happening over the past few months, or let me say weeks, because I think you would agree with me, Sandra, that a lot really has happened since the dissolution of Parliament, and of course since March, really, from the PAM convention, the PLP convention. A lot really has happened. How would you describe all of this happening right now? If you were to give it one word or in a sentence, how would you describe this?
Well, Devon, thank you for having me on Voices. It doesn't feel strange because I've done Voices before.
Right.
It's an environment that I really like to be in because I like to engage people. So I really want to say thank you for having me. And for those of you who are listening, who are listening to WINNFM 98.9 at this time, I want to say good morning to you. How do I explain it right now? Chaotic, one word. Chaotic. I said earlier this morning, I'm mentally drained because there's so much happening. It's confusing. You're trying to basically wrap yourself around it. Let me explain similar something, though. Sorry. Sorry. In March, in December, we saw a budget. We saw the debates of the budget, and we saw everybody seem as though they're in unison. People were being praised, and you look at a government that was together, presented a budget as far as they're concerned, and everybody, it was good. And then we saw a convention, and from the convention, we started to hear about issues that the public was not even aware of, bring to light. And then we saw we saw the PAM convention, and in the PAM convention, you had the premier, the premier of Nevis. He was the speaker, keynote speaker, and he spoke from a PAM CCM point of view. You saw all kind of accusations being hurled at the Prime Minister. We saw the Prime Minister sit and listen to it. Then we listened to the PLP convention. I was really listening for a fight back or an answer back to what was said. And then you listen to a Prime Minister who spoke about what plans they have for the future of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is confusing because here you have your partners having an issue with you, and here you are talking about the future plan, and the plan would have only gone on with your partners. So that for me was chaos, and that's why I use the word up to now, chaotic. For me, it was confusing. And then you saw letters being, words hurled, letters published, waiting for response, insults, people being demeaned. And so you knew that this was the beginning of something that wasn't looking so good for the country. You knew something was going to happen. But then there was hope because people believe that they're all big people. They were elected to do a job, and so they would come to a conclusion at one point in time, and they would take the good of the people, the interest of the people, basically at heart. And that was where a decision would have made based on the interests of the people. So these are the things that I was expecting. And then you saw the deterioration going on and on and on to reach to this point. Still felt like there was hope until you saw, you hear now that there's a dissolution of Parliament. So we now know that there's no hope.
There's an election.
There is an election that is imminent.
Sandra, I agree with you when you said earlier that it was confusing to people when, on one hand, we heard that all was well, and then after a few months, we realized that was not the case. throughout the 7-year term for Team Unity, we were hearing of rumblings and we were hearing of disagreements and all of that, which is expected in any coalition. I think some people would take the position or the view that they did not expect it to be this bad because of the perception or what was said coming out of the election in 2020 that all was well. So I think for the most part, many people were concerned and really trying to wrap their head around, all of this that was coming out of the coalition. Now, we listened to the PAM convention, the PLP convention, and the Premier for Nevis, their disagreements and what they wanted to do and what they could not get done because of what they say, things were not being allowed because of the Prime Minister. What is your response to that?
Like I said, in 2020, you had a campaign, a campaign where unity for me was high on the agenda. People, the Prime Minister was boasted as the best thing ever. I mean, they had the statistics to show. They were proving that the Prime Minister would have done. And for me, that election, the campaign was more about good leadership. That's what I saw. We have a Prime Minister who would have done. We talk about the different problems that they would have, COVID-19, how it was handled. They look at our economy and recognize when you make comparisons to our neighboring islands, we realize that, it's an economy that was second to none. They look at where we were progressing. And the Prime Minister, for me, and this is based on the people who are now having problems, that is his colleagues, they were boasting it, and you hear it all along. It's what the Prime Minister would have done. So for me, I find it that then you saw after the election, after the votes was cast, because I was in the middle and I could hear, I always go and try to find out information. I saw there was some shadows creeping along, and you knew that they can, after a while, the darkness is going to cover the light, because people, when you can only be a hypocrite for a short time, after a while, it's going to reveal. It's going to be revealed. So you saw some erosion because you started to hear certain issues. You saw when the Prime Minister was supposed to be sworn in, you realized that there was a problem. And because I say your ears on the ground, you realize that, this is not good. Because you just came out of a vibrant election where the Prime Minister was pushed. You saw the situation where Hamilton was lagging and Dr. Jew seemed as though he would have gotten the seat. And people thought, okay, even though that Hamilton would have lost his seat, then Dr. Jew, it would not have been a problem because they would have had enough to form the coalition government. Unity should have been back again. But then you realize that for me, because you are there, you realize, no, that was not the problem. And I couldn't understand. So why we have all the players, we have the majority, because you went in as unity, you contested an election with three parties who were supposed to be forming the government. And so I'm like, well, why are we having a problem then, though? Because CCM already would have had their 3 seats. Pam would have had 3 seats, and then would have had 2 seats for PLP. So why is Hamilton's seat such a big issue? Then you realize that, no, everybody can use their seats. Not because you would have campaigned on a unity platform. Everybody could use their seats to their advantage. And if Hamilton would have lost his seat, then you could have had a coalition government with CCM and Labour, or you could have had a coalition government with CCM and PAM, and then there would not have been any PLP. So that was one of the issues. But again, the campaign was about leadership and where we were and that is what they said, the colleagues would have said. But then you now saw that there were problems. Getting the Prime Minister sworn in was a problem. We saw Sean took him there, and then you started to hear about people having discussions, wanting to oust him out, not wanting to be Prime Minister, and then everybody it became public knowledge. And
let me ask you this, Sandra, not to cut you off, but it appears as if the all of this, let me say, confusion, or as you described it earlier, the chaos started when it was being said on social media that the Prime Minister is seeking a third term, and then from the PLP convention in 2021. The Premier said said here yesterday that CCM did not support Dr. Harris to become the Prime Minister in 2020. Your take on that?
Well, it's sad that the premier would have said something like that, because if they use the Charleston Accord to break up this unity faction, then the Charleston Accord gave the prime minister 2 terms. So then, if you talk about keeping the promise, and you as a premier would say that they did not agree to have the prime minister in for a 2nd term, it's obvious that the promise was broken then. So if you broke the promise for the 2nd term, then, and the prime minister feels like he has more time and he wants to continue in politics, if you don't have a unity construct to run with, then the only obvious thing is to run by yourself, isn't it?
Right.
So then you ask the question then, if you said, and the premier would have made that statement, so you know then that the promise was broken. So why is the prime minister seeking a 3rd term? They have a problem with it, because it doesn't have to be a 3rd term with the unity concept, because you said from the beginning that you didn't want him to get a 2nd term. So who violated what?
So it appears as if the unity came to an end before the Prime Minister was sworn in as the second
exactly,
in
2020. Because it is knowledge. It is knowledge, and I don't want to dwell on it so much, but it is knowledge that discussions were had just to get rid of the prime minister and not giving him a 2nd term. And as a matter of fact, the premier would have made mention of that in one of his speeches. He said it was thanks to Sean, who stood up and didn't decide to take the prime ministership on the 2nd term, and allow the prime minister to be the prime minister on the 2nd term. So who broke the promise?
What is your take on the dismissal of the MPs, the ministers of government? We understand from the Prime Minister that they were dismissed. Well, when he spoke for Sean on the grounds of him not attending cabinet for some 3 months. So what is your take on the Prime Minister dismissing the cabinet members?
Let me tell you something, and people can say what they want, and this is my opinion. We elect people to represent us. That is why it's an election, and people don't just select people. So you're elected to represent. If you're not going to cabinet is where you take people's problem. You have portfolios, and in there is where decisions are taken. And if you are not going in and sitting down, it's obvious that you're not taking the reason why the people hired you into consideration. So you're not working, you're not performing. So if you're not performing, then you should not be there. But what I find these guys didn't do right, if you have a problem with the prime minister, as you claim, sir, you understand that you can't work with him anymore. Why not resign? That is the option that you have. Why wait to bring it to the point where you're playing games with us? You are creating instability. If you can't have a cabinet, you're not coming to cabinet, the government, people's work cannot be done. So if you really care, as you say, about the people, and you really care for the country, for stability in the country, then you resign and force the government, the prime minister, to call an early election. We should have had elections 3 months ago then, if that is the case. Why are you going to wait until now for the prime minister? And now the prime minister decides that we can't continue running a government like this, and I decide to fire you guys and see, we're going to take it to an election. What is the problem? You have been asking for fresh elections. Now you're giving fresh elections. You're saying that the prime minister should not have done what he did. I am confused, and that's I'm going to use that word throughout, because I am confused based on the chaos that is happening right now.
Based on conversations that we had here over the past few months and voices and different programs, what we got from the listeners, for the most part, or majority of them, were that an election is needed to correct all of this, because we understand that cabinet was not functioning as it should. Some members were not attending cabinet. We learned from the Prime Minister in his address that is the case, that some members were not attending cabinet. So for the most part, people were of the view that there needs to be an election to correct this. Let the people go back to the polls and choose who they think should be the elected representatives and who will represent them in the new cabinet whenever the election is over. What do you think the outcome of this election would be? What do you think the people would go out, would vote for in this election, Sandra?
Well, let me tell you, what people, and you have to be aware of this. We are not voting. People should get away from this party line. We have seen that over the years. People vote for political parties. Your political party would have failed you, and because of the fact that it's something that you grew up, like me, my mother, I grew up in a family that supported Pam. My mother was a staunch Pam, so I assumed that path where we became Pam. It's not because Pam would have done anything for us or we are proud of what Pam would have done. I'm not saying that they didn't do. I'm just telling you.
Right.
We continued down the line. We overlook the wrong things that would have been done. It's the same thing from a Labour point of view. It's not because Labour would have done all right, but because we back this party, we overlook the wrong things that they would have done, and we continue along party line. What people should start to look at right now is the economy. Start making comparisons. I'm trying to encourage people to become not just waiting for elections to come and they can give you $50 or $100. I'm sick of that. And I'm sick of the way that politicians treat our people by giving them little handouts just because they want to vote. People do not understand how difficult it was for us to get the opportunity to vote. And we need to take that and just don't give it up lightly for $50. It values much more than that. So we have to move away from voting along party lines. We have to start to look at where the country is, from where the country would have come from. Some of the ideas that I would give, and this, I don't want to, I just want you all to start looking along those lines and start coming to your own conclusion. We came out of an era where VAT, 17% VAT was on everything. We had people, minimum wage was $300 and how much dollars per week. You saw increases in electricity and utilities bills. Now you're seeing an increase in gas. You see that there's a war out there. We have the pandemic that would have posed some problems to a lot of families. People were laid off. I mean, a lot of people are still trying to make ends meet. And these are the things that you have to take into consideration. You have to look at leadership that would make a difference for us poor people. Not leadership that would help or people who wants to go into enrich themselves. Because if you look at the argument that is going forward now, what the two main problems that they have with the Prime Minister or with the unity construct? Leadership, people wants to be the Prime Minister, and the Ministry of Finance, they want to get hands on the money. That for me, it sickens me. It shows that you have no interest in people because there's so many other things that are not being done. There's so many other things that are not taken into consideration. You have PAP program, you have STEP program. These are programs these are temporary programs. We're looking for programs where people can get permanent work. We're looking for programs where you have a platform built where small businesses and people can become entrepreneurs. We're looking for programs where that will promote and not pull down. We're looking for programs that would help to sustain. You're looking for programs that would encourage small businesses to come out. These are the programs that we're looking for, not PAP and Peace program where people are placed. These are temporary programs. So we're looking for people who are going to tell us what we're going to do beyond PAP and STEP and all of those little different handouts. You know, what I see, Devon, which upsets me even more, is that you see that even in the pandemic time, these small little packages that you're giving out to poor people, the government it was a great stimulus package because of the fact that when you make comparisons to other countries, we knew that our stimulus package was way ahead. This is what we want. We want to have a government who understand how to handle a pandemic like COVID-19. We were locked down for such a long time, but yet still look at where the economy how fast it has bounced back. So when you're starting to vote and when you're going to the polls, look at situations like that. Don't look for a government that is going to inflict all of these taxes on you because they're not in a position to stimulate the economy. Don't look for a government that is going to bring IMF back at our doorsteps. You can't afford that. Look for a government that would take you out of the hands of IMF in a very quick time. Don't look for a government that is going to start taking lands away from ordinary people and giving it to investors. Look for a government that allows us as poor people to boast. I see that people have a picture of my land that saying that Timothy gave me. I am proud. You know how long I've been trying to get a piece of land to put my business on? And if Timothy could have given me a piece of land, but I am grateful. But I want the public to know that I would have paid the government $84,000 for that land. But I am proud and I'm happy that I was able to apply for land on their government and got it. I don't have a problem with that. And this is what a government that you look for, a government who understands the needs of poor people, poor and ordinary. I'm not saying poor, ordinary citizens. When ordinary people can own things in this country and not all the foreigners coming in. I have a problem with it. We have Chinese are coming in and they're building up and they're getting what they want. What ordinary citizens are supposed to get, foreigners are building. Look at the biggest buildings who are going up there. It is not locals. And this is what you need. You need to stop it. We have been sold out and we need a government who's going to take into consideration. I want to hear this on the platform. I get very passionate, huh?
Yeah. Sandra, it is 11:30. We'll take a short break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue the program. The phone lines are ringing off the hook, so we want to take some calls later to hear what the callers have to say, but we'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Enjoy the convenience of getting all your documents in one place. At the TDC Copy and Print Center on 4th Street in Basse-Terre, we do just that. We offer document formatting, graphic design, and copy and print services. Our team of professionals truly understand all your needs, whether it be administrative, professional, academic, or personal. You bring it, we deliver it with quality every time. Visit the TDC Copy and Print Center today in the TDC Mall on 4th Street in Basse-Terre or call 465-2511. Your copy and print specialists are waiting to serve you.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Track is back! Track is back! That's right, track is back! SKN Athletics and Rams presents the first ever primary school relay championship. Come and witness over 20 primary schools vie for the title. The championships take place on Sunday, May 15th at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium from 1 p.m. Tickets are $25 for the Kim Collins Pavilion, $10 for the grounds and stands. Children under 12 pay only $5. Grab your tickets from Rams Supermarket, Bay Road, St. Kitts. It's the Rams Primary School Relay Championship. Check it.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WINNFM 98.9. WINNFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WINNFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air. Welcome back to Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. It's 11:34 and we are going to take some calls. Sandra, we have some callers on the line, so we want to get these calls in. But before I take this first call, let me ask you this, and because I've been listening to PAM, I've been listening to CCM, and they say that, you know, when they were in government, when they were in the unity, that they did not have access to resources to get things done. They could not provide for their constituents. They did not use this word, but essentially they were strangled and could not get certain things done. What you say about that?
You know, Devon, I'm very disappointed that the unity construct never worked out. You talk about 3 different parties coming together and 3 different policies coming together, and you thought this was it for St. Kitts and Nevis. I thought that because I never understood what happens in cabinet, but I thought that if you are given a budget, the permanent secretaries, they discuss all of the monies that you would need. You just like you're running your own home. You know what you want. You decide how much money you need to get it done, and then you start budgeting. And that is in layman's terms, and so the ordinary man can understand. So if you have situations, you have a portfolio, you have constituencies that you have to run. These are things you take into consideration. You have portfolios and you have your understanding of what you need to do. That is one of the reasons why you have the debate of the budgets that is given to each portfolio. We have had a budget in December. We never heard this coming through. Everybody said it was, it was the best thing. The budget was good, and they debated it, and they were satisfied with it. So how come 2 months later or 1 month later there's a problem in getting things done? That is the question. I'm just as perplexed as you are.
Well, that therefore suggests, because if in 2020 that we understand from them that, because they approved the budget, they said it was good, and a month after they say bye, nothing goes so. Would that mean you lied?
It is obvious, but you don't want to call them. My mother said you don't call big people liars, because it's disrespectful. But if you're gonna tell me one thing now and then you're gonna tell me something a month later, then who do I trust? And that is the confusion. I don't know. You don't know who to trust. You have the facts presented, the information, because they have it in Parliament, so the public is aware of what is going on. I always listen to Parliament because I want to know what's going on. And all of them debated. At no point in time they said that the Prime Minister takes all the money for himself and doesn't give us. And they were satisfied with it. The opposition made their comments and they shut them down because they were satisfied. It was an economy, a thriving economy. Everything was working, and they were working for the ordinary person. So how come all of a sudden now you don't know that there's certain programs that are in place?
Sandra, it is 11:37. We'll take some calls. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989 or 7620989. We're taking your calls here on WINNFM 98.9. For those of you who have just joined us, I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and we have on the program Sandra Queely-Arthurton, and we are commenting on the political climate in St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, the recent development where Parliament has been dissolved and 6 government ministers have been dismissed. A lot has happened. Let's take this first call for this morning. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning to you, Devon.
Yes, good morning.
And I want to commend you on the interview you did last week Saturday, even though you did not go deeper in terms of how people had expected. You did a good job, though.
All right,
and
thank you.
I want to commend your guest here this morning. Now, my question to Mrs. Atherton is this. We heard General Powell on Freedom between 2015 and 2020 said it's not going to be automatic for Timothy Harris to become Prime Minister in 2020 after the next election. And we heard, as you mentioned, about the swearing in after the last election. Would you agree that Mark Bradley had made a case for the undermining of Dr. Harris since 2020, something 2015? Since 2015, he have set out to destroy Dr. Harris based on what he said Wednesday night. Based on the venom come out Wednesday night. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, caller. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's the strangest thing that in 2015, Mark Brantley was not the leader. It was Vance Emery. Mark Brantley came in, basically he was a member, but Vance Emery was the leader. He was the one who signed off and everything else. But you're right. Based on the things that Mr. Brantley would have said, it is obvious that he had a problem initially from the beginning with Dr. Harris. When you listen to the things that Mr. Brantley would have said, that would have brought us in a situation like this. Oh, he grudged me. Oh, I was more popular than him. It was a popularity situation. We have not heard anything that Mr. Harris would have done, Dr. Harris would have done to people or to policies that posed a problem. It was always about that friction, that personal, I was supposed to give a speech, and after I hug up Mia Motley and all the other people, that is what you're hearing coming out. And I'm still waiting to hear what the Prime Minister would have done that would have affected us, the people who would have voted for the unity construct. I'm still waiting to hear. I've listened to all of these big speeches. I've listened to Sean. I've listened to the Premier Brantley. And I've even listened to, from Labour time, the problem with Dr. Douglas and Dr. Harris, based on information out there 27 years ago, it was the fact that Dr. Harris wanted to be Prime Minister. Now it's Dr. Harris wants to be Prime Minister. We are not talking about where we are, how our economy is thriving or not thriving under Dr. Harris. They're just talking from its personal things, personal vendettas. It's about people wanting the prime ministership and people wanting to be in control of the country's purse.
Sandra, we have another call. Let's take this call. Okay, we seem to have lost that. Yeah. We're still taking your calls at 466-0989 or 762-0989. The caller is back. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. On the line, eh?
Yes.
Yes, good morning. Basically, Sandra Quealy is in the studio still?
Yes, she's here.
Good morning, Miss Sandra Atherton. Good morning, Miss Sandra.
All right, good morning. His name?
I see your campaigning very hard, girl. I hope you're getting what you deserve.
Campaigning?
You said something this morning about Dr. Harris being the former deputy. Dr. Harris was not the deputy prime minister. So you're talking so fast that you ain't even got your facts straight. Secondly, I blame the downfall of this government. I put the blame on Dr. Harris.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. Last year at the convention, this lady came from Trinidad or Tobago or Grenada, wherever she came from. She's not aware of our politics here. She's not aware that I voted for unity because of the promises that was made by all the parties. Me and your husband, Miss Atherton, is from Nevis. And Nevis Accord was signed. And a lot of things that was signed in the Nevis Accord, we see Timothy Harris neglect. So don't begin to tell us that, oh, I signed it, but the Constitution said this and the Constitution said that. So I had a series of town hall meetings. I want the first town hall meeting that was held in Constituency 4, Carlton Japan. He came up and he asked Sean Richard if he ever spoke to Dr. Harris about those comments that was made at the PLP convention. Sean told him, yes, I spoke to him about it. I invited him to Tom's convention in Sandy Point, and I asked him to address two issues, the COVID situation and the comments that the lady made that was creating quite a stock. I was upset hearing her telling me that we ain't going to honor, he shouldn't honor the agreement he made with the people that he would run for 2 terms and he would support the next leader from a next partner in the coalition government. And he addressed it? No. He ever come out and tell us, listen, this woman talking, but those are not my sentiments. No. So that's why I tell you, I put the blame at the foot of Dr. Harris.
Thank
and
you.
let me tell you and the nation something. After the next general election, don't care what stove, what fridge, what microwave, what bed is giving us gifts. Because Douglas used to give gifts too. And he end up in the opposition benches. The writing is on the wall. As soon as the bell is ring, Dr. Harris, you're going to end up right back on the opposition benches. We ain't stupid.
All right, caller, thank you so much.
People right now, you know what they're saying about the peace.
Caller, thank you. We want to take some more calls, okay? Okay, caller, thank you so much for your contribution. We're going to take some more calls. We only have about 15 minutes left. Sandra?
Yeah, let me answer one thing that the caller would have made a statement. It's not Nevis Accord, it's Charleston Accord. And if Sharon Gopal made a statement and she said, based on his performance, he should be given a 3rd term. I find this is one of the pettiest reasons that anybody could think about to break up a construct when you are guided according to them by the Charleston Accord. The same Charleston Accord that the Premier Brantley would have said that in 2020 that the Prime Minister should not have been given a 2nd term, when you in the Accord would have said that he should be given a 2nd term. So he wasn't supposed to be given a 2nd term, and they have a problem with somebody else saying that he should be given a 3rd term.
Sandra, we have some more callers. Let's take this call. Okay, we lost that one. Let's take this one. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deborah. Happy holidays. Yes.
Good morning, caller.
I see you there still. Yes. Yeah, I want to know why they're taking us down this rough road, rugged road.
Right.
This road, it come back for you, this destruction road, Right down it. I never see some people cross the electoral office to make them please to pass and ban man like that. Years ago, you see bad man there in the little avenue cooling out. Where are we heading? Something like 80. Mine come backfire on us, mine. Very, very strong, you know. I don't care about the preach part. I know come backfire and let it pack up. Camps never have no Spanish live down there, no 200 name down there and the rest. But I want to know if we're going forward or backward, you know. The last time, let's say, up in a holiday in Newton, in McKnight, 200 name it there, and it never end up with mine. We need to stop the pack over pad. Where are we heading? Where are we going? Like Haiti, you see Haiti today, 2 weeks ago, I heard somebody say that the people couldn't even come out the house, Residents can't come out the house. Stop the people, them, let it go.
Okay. Well, caller, thank you. We're going to take some more calls, okay?
Happy Friday.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. Let's hit this other call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning. I have to say that they have been a strong government. I see people in the individual portfolios performing in a superior manner. It gives me pride as a citizen. It gives me pride as a citizen to see that we have such talent and that with the talent was hard work, sincere, hard work. I am still baffled as to how someone can tell me that they've been trying to get something, help from the government. And they said that if they call in and call a certain person's name, they get through quicker. I don't understand that. I do not understand that if someone wants to get a certain help in agriculture and he said he can't get it. And that kind of hurt my heart because I don't bad-minded politics. I've been a victim of bad-minded politics, and I ain't like it.
Okay, caller.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. Sandra, we have, it's 11:48. We're running out of time, so we want to continue this program, and we'll wrap up at 12, and I'll come back after to finish up voices. What is your take on the feedback from the callers?
Well, let me tell you something, Devon. Everybody support a political party. We would have seen that. I'm listening to that last call about people operating in their portfolios and they're doing well. Everybody would have, and that is one of the reasons why you have differences in opinion.
Right.
And people think that you're campaigning. I am not campaigning for any government. And at the end of the day, people are saying, you come and you see somebody go in and register. I condemn that padding of votes. I talk against it, and I'm going to talk against it now. All of them do it. And that is one of the biggest problems. I think that we all have our constitutional rights and we need to exercise it, and we choose a government that we deserve. For those of you and for all of us as the electorate, we are going to vote. We see what is happening right now. We have a good understanding of what is happening. It is a pity where you can have a government that would have created such a strong economy that would let petty personalities break down or put a whole country again back to the polls. It is a real pity. And and people can get very personal with this thing about politics. I don't get personal with politics. I have my opinion and I express my opinion. At the end of the day, we look at ourselves and not our children's future and the future of other people's children. We need to settle down. We have track records. And every political party that has been in power would have done what they had to do. It's about continuance. We are saying, why would you want to change a government that is doing so well for its people? That is the argument. When you go to the polls, you look for a government that can help you. Why you are in government and you want to come out of government, you have the opportunity to make changes and do what you have to do. Why would you want to come out and then present yourself again for us to put you back in? You have problems that you need to resolve. If you can't resolve your problems on the inside, internal problems, because this was brought out, like I said, we were under the impression that things were good. We heard the problems, and I'm going to ask again, if the people are satisfied, if you feel like the government is doing what it said it would have done for the people, then why are we going back to the polls? Why is the argument about prime ministership? Why would the prime minister have to step down and allow somebody else to take up the position to learn for future for the future position that they assume that they're going to have?
Right.
Why would they? Why that has to happen? Why is the Ministry of Finance such an importance to certain people? If the country is running as it should, why would we change? If something is working, why would you want to fix it? And these are the questions you ask, then you start to question certain things. You are given portfolios and you're seeing situations happening in portfolios. Poor people, electricity have been cut off. Listen, we are struggling. We just came out of a pandemic, because the whole world has been affected. We just came out of a pandemic. We couldn't get any tourists coming to our shores. We were locked down and we were locked off. We are now bouncing back. At the end of the day, we are doing well. People, our neighbors, want to know how come our economy is thriving that well. So why would you want to change this now? Why we want to take chances? And that is all that you're hearing. The Deputy Prime Minister is not going to cabinet because he felt like his name was on a police report that would implicate him. Mm-hmm. You talk to the top cop, the commissioner. You go to the commissioner and you trash that out. That has nothing to do with the prime minister. But everybody start making assumptions. Oh, it's the prime minister who's doing that. It's 6 of you who are in there. 7 of you, 4 PAM and 3 CCM. You're telling me that the prime minister is only one person. You're going to tell me these are problems. These are petty problems. These are not problems that we, as the electorate or the ordinary citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, have to deal with. If you can't deal with these petty problems, then you can't run a government. And so you ask for elections. Elections are here. Mm-hmm. That is a problem again. Stop going on the radio and start talking about who did what and fire blame game. Start telling us what you are going to do. Tell us what went wrong under the leadership of Timothy Harris, where poor people were affected. Talk about those things and tell us how you are going to remedy it. Mm-hmm. That is what you're waiting to hear. I am sick and tired of hearing these personalities. When I listen to what they're saying on the platforms right now, we are looking down the barrel of one of those nuclear weapons that Russia has. It is sad. People might take it, and people can make noise because they are benefiting or they have benefited. I mean, people have said that about me, that I'm benefiting now, I have benefited. I operate under Labour in 2020, for the 20 years that Labour was in power. I ran my own business. And I did well because I'm an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. For the 7 years under the Unity construct, I have not been on any board for government, and I've run my own business and I've done well. It doesn't matter who government is in power. I am going to do well because I don't depend on government. You understand? So, but at the end of the day, I have a problem when poor people or unfortunate people are constantly coming to me. I'm not part of government, and you have to help. Because they feel like you're in a position you can have. I'm tired of going around and doing charity cases, going out and helping people. $20 here, $100 there. You're in the supermarket, you can't afford to finish paying, because we need to see that lying race, that minimum wage. We need to see that. Government has just given a 10% increase. We look at see what is happening. Look at what you have to pay at the gas pumps for gas. We need a government who's going to try to make sure that they can cushion the situation as it is right now. People are not in tune to what is happening outside in the world. We have isolated ourselves. Think it's not just a country. We don't live in a world by ourselves. We have to understand what is coming. We saw what happened with COVID. We because of the fact that we were cushioned, We do not understand how other countries are happening. The lady called and talked about Haiti. You look at Mexico. You look at all the other natural disasters that are happening in this world. We need a government that can help us when situations like this arise. We have proven, we have had one that have withstood the test of time. So why do we want to now go? Because the ministers are having problems, personal problems. Why should we go back to the polls? It's a done deal, Devon. We have to go back to the polls. So why are they still crying?
Sandra, a lot really has happened over the past few days, eh? And as I said earlier, I've been listening to the members from all the different parties, particularly PAM and CCM, who are part of Team Unity. A lot really has been said, and I think you'd agree with me that over the next few days or weeks, very interesting times ahead, and let's see what happens. Ultimately, it lies in the hands of the people and what they decide. If they decide that, whatever they decide, we have to trust what the people decide, because the buck stops with them. We could always say what we prefer or what we think should happen, but the buck really stops with them. Sandra, we have 3 minutes left before we wrap up this program, the first hour of this program. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I hope to have you back so we can continue to comment on this, for you to give your opinion on this. And of course, we will take calls in the future to hear from the callers their take on this as well. But as I said earlier, and as I've been saying to different people when they ask me for my opinion on this, what you've described as chaotic is chaos. I am just hoping that all of this could come to an end, and I think it will, because we're having a general election. So after the general election, we go back to normal. And I think what people should be concerned about at this point in time is how the country is going to operate going forward. I know at times we're gonna get very excited when it comes to the politics, and we will all have our passion for the different political parties. But at the end of the day, it is about governance and things running properly in the country, making sure that the real bread and butter issues are being looked after and people are being looked after. And that is my only wish. Some may differ. I don't know if you differ, Sandra, but that is my only wish. Yeah.
I only want to make sure, I don't care who government go into power, the ordinary man has to be looked after. That is what I care about. And people have to understand what it takes for that to happen, and they have the decision to make.
It really stops with them, and we'll see. I'll be monitoring the campaign. I'm pretty sure you will. Listening to all the sides to hear what they have to say and what they plan to do. I understand that some political parties will be making some announcement very soon in terms of who their candidates are and who these people, who are they going to put forward to contest this election. You can't say who will win for sure and who will take all seats or who will take majority of the seats.
You can't call this.
You can't call it.
But one of the things that you see, though, is UC Labour would have launched their 8 candidates. PLP and I suppose PAM, you can see that they didn't expect to be here at this time.
Right.
Because they don't have 8 candidates yet. They don't have the candidates to put forward. And we have a very short time, because if it's supposed to be 90 days, I mean, candidates are supposed to be there. People have an understanding of who's supposed to be going.
Right.
But you saw that this is not happening. So, you know, the undermining that they said that the Dr. Harris was undermining his people, he doesn't have a slate of candidates yet. So I suppose he had a plan. He acted without a plan.
I think this caught a lot of people off guard.
Definitely.
Whether you were in PAM, CCM, PLP, whatever, it caught people off guard, because again, I think we programmed in our mind that an election will come in 2025, not
3 years earlier.
2 years right after the election, you know. So we will be listening to the political parties to hear what they have to say in terms of who their candidates are, and we'll see how this thing goes. But Sandra, again, thank you so much for coming on the program today, and I hope to catch up with you in the very near future. This has been the first hour of Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. We'll take a break now for the headline news, and when we come back, we will continue Voices for today. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius. Stick and stay. I'll be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Wall with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your National Bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
With the Win Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, changes to Electoral Commission on the horizon, member asked to resign. Nevis Historical and Conservation Society to commemorate International Museum Day with fun activities. Former Premier of the British Virgin Islands formally indicted on 3 charges, each of which carries a maximum of 20 years to life, and more from Carib Update. Internationally, foreign ministers from the group of 7 industrialized countries are discussing further joint action over the war in Ukraine. Germany, which is hosting the meeting, says one focus is breaking Russia's blockade of Ukrainian grain exports in an effort to avoid a global food crisis. Now, the details.
WINNFM has been reliably informed that Joseph Liebert has been asked to resign as a member of the Electoral Commission. The source revealed that Liebert will be replaced by an individual of the legal fraternity. Liebert was appointed to the commission in 2017 by the Governor-General on the advice of Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. More as information becomes available. In commemoration of International Museum Day 2022, the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society will be engaging students from various primary schools on Nevis in an afternoon of old-time games and fun activities. The event is slated for Thursday, May 19th, on the grounds of the Museum of Nevis History. According to a release from the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society, quote, ever since 1977, on or around 18th May, participating museums plan events and activities related to the annual theme, engage with their public and highlight the importance of the role of museums as institutions that serve society and its development. This year, Nevis museums are celebrating the power of traditional games as a means of positive social interaction, cultural transference, and as a representation of the importance of family, end quote. Students will engage in activities such as skipping with vines, dog and bone, brown girl in the ring, a tisket a tasket, little Sally Water, and more. The expectation is that the students will learn new games and in turn teach their friends, ensuring that traditional games live on for generations. International Museum Day is dedicated to the power of museums, the power of achieving sustainability, the power of innovating on digitalization and accessibility, and the power of community building through education. Museums are also an important means of cultural exchange, enrichment of cultures, and development of mutual understanding, cooperation, and peace among the people. On Nevis, the museums include the Museum of Nevis History, which is the birthplace of Alexander Hamilton, the Sports Museum, as well as the Horatio Nelson Museum. In regional news, former Premier of the British Virgin Islands formally indicted on 3 charges, each of which carries a maximum of 20 years to life, and more from Carib Update.
Former Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Andrew Foy, has been formally indicted on 3 charges, all of which carry a maximum sentence of 20 years to life. Federal prosecutors filed the 3-count indictment against Foy and co-accused Olivine Maynard and her son K.D. Maynard on Wednesday. The trio are charged with conspiracy to import a controlled substance which carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment, conspiracy to engage in money laundering which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years, attempted money laundering with a maximum sentence of 20 years imprisonment. In addition to the possible prison terms, the 3 accused could also have their assets seized. The indictment also calls for the forfeiture of any property belonging to the defendants derived from the conspiracy. Foy and the 2 Maynards were arrested by DEA agents last month. While the former premier was granted bail in the sum of $500,000, the prosecution appealed the judge's decision, saying that Foy is a flight risk and danger to the community. On Tuesday, Foy's temporary counsel filed a motion to dismiss the appeal and asked that the stay of the bond be lifted so he could be released from jail. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown has confirmed that no definitive decision has yet been made on whether Antigua and Barbuda and other CARICOM nations will boycott the upcoming Summit of the Americas, scheduled to be held in Los Angeles next month. There have been reports that Brown had said that Antigua and Barbuda will not be attending the highly anticipated meeting because his country does not recognize Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela. However, Brown has subsequently said that he is adopting a wait-and-see approach, saying whatever decision is taken must be a unified one. The USA has indicated that it will not be inviting 3 presidents from 1 Caribbean and 2 Latin American states, namely the President of Cuba, the President of Venezuela, and the President of Nicaragua. Several heads of state and of government have indicated that they will not attend if that policy is pursued.
We now bring you these international reports.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock is now the host for a flurry of high-level diplomacy. She returned home from a trip to Ukraine earlier this week and is now chairing a meeting of foreign ministers of the G7. It'll be followed by NATO and European Union meetings to try and increase pressure on Russia and support for Ukraine. One country, though, is causing major problems. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, re-elected last month, opposes further energy sanctions. The EU wants a ban on Russian oil imports by the end of the year. Even though Hungary and Slovakia will be given exemptions, Orban is still threatening to veto.
The question is if Hungary shows bigger solidarity to its European allies and partners, or it shows bigger solidarity with Putin's Russia. So I very much hope that in the end, Hungary will make the right choice because it will be really impossible to square their participation in EU and NATO if they continue to block these sanctions because of special ties with Putin.
If you drive about 3 hours from where the G7 foreign ministers are meeting along Germany's Baltic coast, it brings you here to Lubmin. This is where the Nord Stream pipelines, which run from Russia to Germany, terminate. This place sums up what's been achieved by the West in recent months. Unprecedented steps like the mothballing of Nord Stream 2, something the US had been demanding for years. But the other pipeline, Nord Stream 1, is still operating. It delivers 55 billion cubic meters of natural gas to Germany a year, an indication of the vast sums Europe continues to pay to Russia for its energy. James Bays, Al Jazeera, Northern Germany.
Last month, Afghanistan saw more attacks carried out by the Islamic State group targeting ordinary people than at any time since the Taliban takeover. Around 100 civilians, largely from religious minorities, were killed in a series of bombings on mosques, minibuses and a school. Overall levels of violence in Afghanistan have fallen since the Taliban's insurgency came to an end, but this week the UN Secretary-General warned terrorism by IS was resurgent. Sukanda Kamani reports from Kabul.
It's Milad's first day back at school since it was attacked by extremists. He wasn't hurt when the bomb went off, but his father rushed to the scene to check he was safe, only to be killed by a second explosion. How are you feeling going back to school today?
It feels really hard. I was at school when the explosion happened. Going back there is really difficult because I lost my father. My heart doesn't want me to go back.
Milad and most of this Kabul neighborhood are from the Shia Hazara minority. The area has been repeatedly targeted by the Islamic State group, though they never formally claimed this bombing.
I was inside the classroom, about to leave, when all of a sudden there was an explosion. We all crouched down on the floor with our hands over our heads. My father was very kind and caring. He would always encourage me to go to school. He was a great support to me.
The school opened up straight after the attack, but some pupils are yet to return. 7 students were killed, along with 2 men, including Milad's father. A spate of IS bombings in recent weeks, targeting Shia and Sufi Muslims, have rattled the communities. The attacks happened in the past too, but since the Taliban takeover, have spread to new parts of the country. IS, on occasion, apparently even firing into neighbouring Central Asian states. In Afghanistan, the Taliban still control the streets. We joined one of their police patrols. IS is a fierce rival, but far smaller and doesn't hold any territory. It does, though, have deadly cells. There's a bloody irony to the situation here. The Taliban, once insurgents themselves, are now in charge, and they're on the lookout for suicide bombers as well as regular criminals. For many people here, whatever else they might have thought about the Taliban, they hope that their arrival would mean the end of decades of violence in this country.
A coalition of international countries invaded us. They carried out attacks and tried to make Afghanistan unstable. We defeated them, so we can prevent these smaller attacks now.
Many people from the Shia community, many people who are Sufi, they're feeling afraid.
It is true there have been some attacks recently which targeted innocent people. We completely condemn them. God willing, we have a brave police force who will prevent such attacks.
In Hazara neighborhoods, every aspect of life has come under attack in recent years. Passengers have often been targeted on their daily commute.
We are attacked everywhere, in school, in hospital, in university, in the street. But we don't have any option to save ourselves. But we are living in a blood.
Back at school, a Milad is leaving, not long after having arrived. My father was always there for me, he says. Now, he's no more. Sikandar Kamani, BBC News, Kabul.
You were listening to the WINNFM Headline News on 98.9. Our top stories were: changes to Electoral Commission on the horizon, member asked to resign. Nevis Historical and Conservation Society to commemorate International Museum Day with fun activities. Former Premier of the British Virgin Islands formally indicted on 3 charges, each of which carries a maximum of 20 years to life. Internationally, foreign ministers from the group of 7 industrialized countries are discussing further joint action over the war in Ukraine. Germany, which is hosting the meeting, says one focus is breaking Russia's blockade of Ukrainian grain exports in an effort to avoid a global food crisis. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation. or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. It is 12:27 and you're logged into WinFM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. Thank you so much for joining me on the program today. It's a beautiful Friday. Some rain is falling and I'm grateful for the rain. I'm giving thanks for life. So happy to be here and happy that you guys have taken time out of your busy schedule to join me on the program today. This is Voices. We want to hear from you, the people, your take on the recent turn of events. A lot has happened. A lot really has happened. We want to hear from you, so we're going to head straight to the phone lines. Okay, we seem to have lost that call. We're taking your calls at 466-0989 or 762-0989. The phone lines are open. We want to hear from you, the listeners of WinFM 98.9. We'll take this first call for the afternoon. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm giving thanks for life.
All
That's
right.
for the showers. Yeah, periodic, but nevertheless. Yeah. Is Mrs. Sandra Quilly at the time still in the studio?
No, she was just on for the first hour.
Okay, good. In your discourse earlier with her, you used a word in which, well, growing up, we wouldn't have coined it that way. They are lying. We would say they are untruth. And she did allude it to, the type of words that we were brought up with, Instead of saying it, it sounds raw. It's like you're digging a stick in a raw store. But have you concluded that for yourself, or you by your observation, or I am hearing
You're asking me if I have concluded that for myself?
Yeah. Did you coin it as that? You have concluded that you from what you have gleaned so far, the information out there that something has to be wrong.
Yes.
For yourself,
Yes. Yes. And I wouldn't have jumped to that conclusion without understanding what is going on. Hold on. It is as clear as day. On one hand, you heard, and this is not going at anybody. This is literally on the wall. It has been said. On one hand, we heard that all was well. We all heard that all was well. We were being told that all was well. I didn't expect them to come out and tell us everything that's going on in Team Unity because you really wanted to keep things running, and they said themselves that they really wanted to keep things running in the best interest of the country. But on one hand, we heard that things were not well. And in a few months, they came out and they said, guys, all was not well. So what do you call that? What do you call that? If I'm telling you on one hand that all is well, I'm telling you because really and truly, boy, I want to protect you. And I don't want to give you all of the details because you may not be able to handle it. But at the end of the day, I come out and say, boy, really and truly, things was rough, Things were really, really rough. What do you call that?
Someone made a statement last night on a radio station, and I would agree. Because the unity thing, mainly, I think the unity thing started not with the politicians, but like with prayer warriors, that biblical persons, people who see that the word unity in the Bible and would say that it is a good thing for us to unite. Whether the politicians would adopt it and take it for the benefit of the nation. Okay, we know where we were coming out of, and some of it was propaganda, some of it was truth, half-truth, with the former administration in Denzel Douglas and the international scandal and the way things unfold. And the unity way was an experiment to see if 2-3 parties can get it right for the benefit of the people. The bottom line, Mr. Cornelius, the bottom line of it is the people, the benefits for the ordinary. And I was all for it. That is why up to today I am silent, I am listening. And it wasn't all adage I heard in a previous, leading up to the 2016. I think Sam Condor, one of them, used it. Tell them about your sore foot before they tell you about yours. And I see that is coming out. having an opportunity to talk about somebody's storefront before they can tell you about yours. And the information is fast and flurry. That if you're not mentally strong, you would get a breakdown with the information, the downloads, the uploads. So I have concluded too that there's a lot of innuendos, for want of a better word. A lot of innuendos, but all can be blamed. I am not exempting the Prime Minister because we put them there to put the checks and balances in place. So this discussion we're having now would have been a part of like a former administration, not the unity concept. And so all is to be blamed. But for two out of a tri-party to say we are pointing fingers at one, I'm afraid the one finger you're pointing at the individual, the other fingers are pointing at you. So I'm going to use the word. They are lying. They have been lying to the people. With all that is unfolding now, I am still listening because all that is hinged on what they are saying, that is the PAM and the CCM. I only have from the PLP the letter. And I listen to debates, school debates and school debates, rebuttals and so. And that letter holds virtue. For instance, Mr. Ian Patches-Libert, the foreign minister for, I think, is the United Nations,
ambassador,
have done a tremendous job on his Straight Talk program that benefits the team unity. But all of a sudden, he should stop. He should stop now. They did not see it fit to stop him when they was benefiting. All of a sudden, and this was a part of the 18 demands. I don't call it demands. I call it the 18 blackmailing of wanting to hold the Prime Minister as a blackmail. That's all that it was. And so now, that's just the way we are today, to be honest. That is where we are. And to educate the public, and if Nevis to benefit from this, and if Think is to benefit from this, the Nevis and public needs to be educated and said, well, I have tried. I have sent you to Bastia, and I'm afraid you came up short. Do not come back down here to St. Kitts and want your fair share with the liars, because you will get the same thing. And telling lie on one person, you are vindicating the person. You are making the person look better. Because the three of you was in this thing together. And you're going to be lying and lying and lying on one person. Something is wrong. That's my take for it on now. Thanks for listening.
And thank you, caller, for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls here on WINNFM 98.9. The phone lines are open at 466-0989 or 762-0989. The phone lines are open. We want to hear from you, your take on all of this. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yesterday, while I was listening to Island Tea, that's what the program is called, right?
Yes.
I had a young lady call in, and too often you hear that you want new faces. But new faces mean you probably want a whole slate of 8 or 11, right? Because you can't have an old pot and buy a new cover to put on it. What I mean is that you can't have new people, new faces going into a party. Let's say anyone in the party know, like you have the girl Gray and all that there. Eventually, they're not going to come with any new ideas as far as I'm saying, because they'll be eventually tinted by the old set that's there. Some time ago, you had 3 young fellas that didn't last very long, and then to get 8 or 11 set of new faces. It's going to take some time, maybe 10 years, because Pam didn't just get in there like that. So for people to say that you need fresh faces, I couldn't understand them. Maybe a bunch of women could get together and form a party, but everybody going to be thinking about the job. You know what I mean, Mr. Kalinas?
Yeah, I'm following you.
You can't just get people say they're going to go against the government in power because they don't like it's being done. These people are going to be having jobs, and they're going to be fearful that the jobs are going to be affected. So as one young man always talk about change until you get what you want. You're going to be from PAM to Labour to PPL now to the Twin Nevis, and then you're going to be going back and forth. And to me, you change until you get the change you want. You're going to be with PLP and the concoction now, as we call it, and then you're going back to either Labour or maybe to PAM or maybe to PLP. That is not changing the change until you get the change you want. You understand the point I'm trying to make?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Maybe you'll have to get fresh faces, fresh people. Then that will be a change. You can't be going from PAM to Labour, from Labour to PAM, from unity to this. That to me, that is not a change, because I don't believe that these fellas are going to really, really change. You understand the point I'm trying to make? You can't really change. The only change these people are talking about, as the young lady said yesterday, that you're going to have to get a fresh set of faces. So what's been happening now, boy, is interesting to see how it's going to work out when they ring the bell, because the people like the guy from Barbados, he don't seem able to say anything. He's only diehards who will say, well, look, I'm going to get 4 seats and this person going to get. But this election is going to be very, very, very interesting.
All right.
That is how I see it. But fresh faces mean a total new set of people. Because don't forget, you were not born then. During the Labour Party time, you had the Democrat Party. You wasn't born yet. Then you had the PPL, PPL, and then you had a party run by Michael Powell. So all of those parties that come up to challenge Labour, they didn't make no headway until when Pam came on the scene. And it took Pam quite a while to really, get into government. So it's going to be very hard. And most of those people who were in PAM most of them, as far as I know, as far as I could remember, they weren't really working for government. They more or less had their own 2 lawyers, you had a doctor. You understand the point I'm trying to make?
Yes.
So for a little country like this, it's going to be very, very difficult to get a new, fresh set of faces, as they say.
All right.
You may have 1 or 2 like the girl Gray, and then you had Akila came here. That's a fresh face, but she basically in a fraction of Labour. You understand what I'm trying to say?
All right. Well, caller, thank you so much. We want to take some more calls, okay?
Yeah, okay, man. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, caller, so much for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls right here on Voices on WINNFM 98.9. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989. Now, I often listen to the conversation of the need for fresh faces in politics. Let me hold that thought. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, I was trying to follow that caller there who was talking about the fresh faces. What happened is that the young people in St. Kitts and Nevis, they need to get involved with the political system. And also, another fraction of the people is the Rastafari community. They say they don't want to be involved, but yet still they would have complaints about certain things not being enacted. They also need to get involved, but more so the young people, because right now, if the young people were involved from some time back, it would have given some persons a chance to maybe form a new party right now. And the fresh new faces that the previous caller is looking for, then we would have had a chance to form a fresh party right now to put some fresh faces in the place. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with him. And on that note, there's only one person that's looking like it's fresh, and that's Dr. Drew. You know what I mean? Everybody else is being there already. But I had a weird scenario at one point when I learned that Timothy Harris didn't want to limit himself to 2 terms. My thought and my opinion on that was that it was going to come out to be a referendum on him, and that's exactly where it led. I don't really agree with him trying to go past 2 terms. Terms limitation is very important because it keeps, fresh ideas keep coming in when you get new people new prime minister after 2 terms. But right now we're going back to the polls, and no matter what nobody says right now, the power gone back into the people's hands, and that's what I like about what's happening right now. To me, most of the the people in the Federation that don't want to hear and don't want to face the reality right now is the people that's supporting Harris. But the people is going to speak sooner or later. So I'm happy to see that the power gone back to the people's hands, and the votes is going to be split in syncets, and it's going to be a coalition government at least. But to me, this is an indictment on Harris himself. Whether it's an indictment on Sean and Mark, it's going to be left to be seen.
Okay, caller,
That's
thank
my
you so much.
contribution. Yeah,
all right. Let's take this other call. You're on the air, caller. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A quick observation. I keep hearing people saying what we need is fresh faces, but isn't it true that 7 out of the 8 Labour candidates are fresh faces?
I wanted to go. Sorry, go ahead.
I said, there you go.
I wanted to comment on it too because I often hear the talk about fresh faces. I've come to the conclusion that people really don't know what they want.
And the other thing is 100% of the NRP candidates are also fresh faces.
Right.
So maybe it's where they want the fresh faces. So if you want fresh faces, vote for either Labour or NRP. That's the answer. They're the only ones with the fresh faces.
All right. All right. Thank you, caller, for your contribution to this program. Yeah, I often listen to the conversation about having fresh faces, and I really don't understand what you mean or what they mean when they say fresh faces, because when you look at the current makeup of the political parties now, each party has a fresh face. And then we often say, well, they join an old party. Do we suggest, or are we suggesting that we form a new party for every election? It appears as if that is what we are suggesting. That every time we have an election, we form a new party. Or we run new candidates. But when you look at the political parties, they all have fresh faces. You all have young, fresh, new people who have come forward. They told themselves, well, I want to see the change. I want to be the change I want to see. Look at the political parties. They all have fresh faces. So you have in this election coming up, the both elections, local and federal elections, people who are coming for the first time, offering up themselves. So what do we mean when we say we want fresh faces? Yeah, I don't agree with you being in office for years and years and years and years. If the person is there making a difference and bringing something meaningful to the table, then I don't see anything wrong with that. But if you're there and you're not making a meaningful change, then you ought to go. But what do we mean by fresh faces? What do we mean by that? And I know, and I've heard people say this, that, well, Yes, it's a fresh face, but they went and they joined an old party. I find at times we give people a hard time. So on one hand, we say, boy, we want fresh faces, we want new people, we want young people. And when they come forward, we say, no, we want you because you joined this party or that party. We can't paint everybody with the same brush, even if they are members of the same party. We can't paint everybody with the same brush and say, well, all are just alike. I don't believe so. I genuinely don't believe so. So again, what do we mean by we want fresh faces? Because if that is so, we may have fresh faces every election. And fresh our new political parties every election. There's also people would also say, well, the political parties have failed and they have not delivered. And some are of the view that you should change and change until you get the right thing. But voting, or voting that is not the only way. Well, I think is not the only way to effect some kind of change or to make things happen. I know at times we are afraid to tell our elected representatives when they are wrong, and when you feel that they've gone astray. But if we're going to be silent when they do something that is not right, then what do we expect? What do we expect? We can't keep calling for fresh faces. We as the electorate have to put them in line when they go astray. We have to put them in line because we're the ones who put them there in the first place. You speak frankly with your elected representative. But if we're going to be changing, then there won't be any stability in the country. There won't be any stability in the country. Plans and programs and policies sadly may not be able to, happen, or we won't see the completion of any program or any policy that you want to put in place because we keep changing. But we really have to make up our minds with what we want. We are in the silly season now. This is what we will call it, the silly season. Elections are coming. And on one hand, we're saying the politicians are corrupt. And they keep doing this and they keep doing that. But on the other hand, we're saying, I want a house. I want a piece of land. I want $10,000 and $15,000. Well, where are they going to get it from? Let's ask ourselves that question. We are so disgusted about politicians who are corrupt and politicians who rape the treasury. This is what we are saying as a people, that we don't like these things. And when we finish saying that, out of the same mouth, we are coming back and we're saying, I ain't voting for you unless I get $10,000. And what you could give me? Well, where they gonna get it from? Huh? I'm not trying to give an easy pass for our elected officials. But sometimes we just really hold them hostage, We as the people hold them hostage and demand some ridiculous things from them. And when they turn out to be bad and crooked and corrupt, we vex with them. What was you met them so? And I'm speaking frank. So we as a people, we need to check ourselves and ask ourselves, what do we want? Do we really want to see the country progress in terms of health, education? Because if an election cycle is coming around, I'm not saying that they are not politicians who would go out there and say, well, I'm going to pay you for a vote. I'm not saying that that is not happening. But I'm saying for people who think that in order for them to vote, they got to get a piece of land or a house or something in return. You are the reason why we're going to have corrupt politicians. Because we keep pressuring them for things that realistically they don't have. But because they want to be in there and they really want to serve, because I don't think they would come forward if they don't want to serve. They're going to go and they're going to try to yield to your demands. And say, boy, my supporters tell me I got to get them this or they're going to vote me out and I really want to do this shit for them, you know. So that is why they're going to go and do it. We need to change our mindset as voters. We need to change our mindset as voters. We can't keep calling the politicians corrupt. We can't keep calling them greedy. We can't keep saying that they're out of line. But on the same breath, we're making some ridiculous demands from them. I mean, voting for you unless you give me about $10,000 and a piece of land. So you must get the land free, but I must pay for the land. And sometimes you wonder why people just go crazy in this country, you know? You wonder why people go crazy in this country. So what do we want as a people? What do we want as a people? I'm asking the question, and it's very serious right now. What do we want? Huh? What do we want? What do we want? We are often quick to say that all the politicians are bad and they're corrupt and they're not good and they only look out for themselves. Not saying that is not the case. You may have some when you look across the board. But we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves and stop this rubbish of, well, the only how I can vote unless you pay me. Well, don't vote. As simple as that. We have a call on the line. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. The phone lines are open. We're taking your calls here on Voices on WINNFM 98.9. It is 5 minutes to the hour, 1 o'clock. We'll end this program at 1:30. But we are taking your calls at 466-0989. The call is back. We'll take this call. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Mr. Cornelius, good day.
Good day. How are you, man?
I can hear the frustration in your voice, my lord, and I understand it very well because sometimes I don't feel the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, this election and voting thing is like supply and demand. And it's lazy, visionless politicians who cause this kind of atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why I say so. If the politicians that we elect would do their jobs and come up with groundbreaking, visionary policies that serve the people based on the time period that we are in, we wouldn't have this big gap between the haves and the have-not. And it is so around the world. Only a small amount of countries have the mindset where that if all prosper, everything would be good. Now, I'm not saying that anything is wrong with capitalism, but capitalism is based on profit, supply, and demand to get the biggest profit for the least amount of expenses. And if the politicians would make sure that we have a good healthcare system, a good education system, void of favoritism, victimization, and that kind of thing, there would never be a need for them to have to go and get millions of dollars in order to try to win an election. Because they could win it solely on merit and solely on the work that they were hired to do.
And their performance.
And their performance. That's the word I was fishing for.
Yeah.
Performance. But because we have visionless politicians who want a pat on the back for doing what governments are supposed to do, like patching up a road. Let's have a big ceremony for patching up a road.
Yeah.
Let's have a big ceremony for providing somebody with a job. That's what you're supposed to do. Create the atmosphere for everybody to flourish. Every now and again, you take a look at your laws to make sure that justice is not denied because of a loophole in a constitution, because you ain't catch up with the times and the people that you are dealing with. If politicians would buckle down and do these things, we wouldn't have this problem where you have to get millions of dollars to try to entice people to vote, because then people would not be disconnected with what's going on. But people live in a reality where they see what's happening in the system. We ain't got good health care. We ain't got this. We ain't got that. The politicians, in the meantime, buying up 2 and 3 and 4 different properties, and they're sitting pretty 3 and 4 Jeep, and people in the country watching at them and like, okay, so how is it in a short space of time you could afford that? But I have to be scunting out here. Prices going up on me here, there, and everywhere. No price control.
But the thing is, we applaud them, you know? When these
We applaud
politicians...
them for this garbage.
Yeah, we say, yeah, we love that.
Yeah. Imagine you coming on social media and radio. Oh, the government is doing so well, and the performance is this and that. Because you don't see at the grassroots level where people cannot access certain amenities. And that is why when they go into the ghetto part, the majority of the voters are, they got to walk with their money because ghetto people ain't stupid.
Yeah, I feel you, yeah.
You understand? Now, listen to Mark Bradley recently, saying that he asked the Prime Minister in a cabinet meeting, well, how much money is in the roofing program? How much money have we gathered? And the answer is, well, the program is doing quite well. Okay, but what are the figures? Oh, the program is doing very well. They come out and they say it's doing very well. We are doing so great. We are doing so wonderful. Okay, show me the figures. Do you have a database to show where your poverty line is? Do you have a database or a platform to show the performance of these ministers and the ministries? What were they supposed to do where we were 5 years ago to where we are now? You don't have that. But what you have is a group of people who so love their government and love their ministers that nothing they see going wrong, they would ever come out of their mouth. And they're going to come back and tell you, oh, well, it was happening on the Labour. But are we in a campaign to change that in 2015? We ain't campaign to change all them kind of garbage there. So now you have a set of guys who are now outside of the government admitting that they lied to us. To we face. Everything is doing well. Dr. Harris is the best. Ham is the best. This is the best. That is the best. We are doing so well. Why would you want to take out a government that's doing well? But the Labour administration was doing well too. We were number one. And people were fed up of the government. And they took it out. So how come now he ain't going to take out a government that is performing? If they're performing so well, why all this need for this lot of money to be spent? Why? But all of them would never come together and say, look, we're done with this campaign thing. Because in other jurisdictions, especially like America, whoever pays for the campaign is who is going to get the spoils. They could lobby the people who they put in parliament, lobby the people who they put in certain positions to swing things their way. And look at our politicians. When they win, they swear allegiance to the Queen, her heirs and successors, not to the people. So now you have them on the radio talking about, you can't fire me, the people hire me. But when we were asking about a number of issues, the herpes, the stem cell, the clothes, the shoes and the watch.
It's a long list,
Not
you know.
one of them answered us directly.
It's a long
you
list.
As a journalist, Mr. Cornelius, you as a journalist asked enough questions and you got backlash from it. All of them defended it and they were mum on it. When the misappropriation came up, the Prime Minister said nothing as the leader of the government. When the write-up came, he said nothing. All of them were defending each other. And know what you have? They're now pointing fingers at each other, calling one another thief, calling one another greedy, calling one another deceptive. But just shy of 2 months ago, team unity was the best thing in the world. The only thing they say about team unity is that is Jesus. So we're supposed to believe these politicians when they come to us.
Right. And as I say, it's confusing, you know, because again, it's necessary. I didn't say it, and I don't think you said it either. They told us that everything was good. So,
Good and great.
so for the most part, we believed that the country was good and everything was running fine. Only to find out that nothing goes so.
No, God, so
I mean, you can't keep playing with people like that. I
when
don't know.
asked, how does the peace program actually work? Oh, how dare you? It's like you don't want to see poor people progress and you don't want to see poor people move from where they are to the next place. They defend it. And all you were asking for was information as to how it actually works. How this money is spending, who is getting the money, who is on the program. Oh, we can't tell you because it is for security reasons. Security reasons? Why thought the gang them were dismantled? Who are the gang members? Did they make an atonement for everything that they did in the past? Can we put a name and a face and a reason to the 300 murders that we had on the doggy? We didn't get anything at all out the piece. All we got is that, okay, nobody killed one no more. But we still had murders, though. We still had robberies, though. But we don't know the ins and outs of the piece. And then somebody come from the camp to say that they are the director of the piece. Okay, how much you done the piece? I don't know. Well, how the money is spent? I can't tell you. But it's doing well, though. It's the kind of garbage you were getting.
Oh, Lord of mercy.
And people were lauding this thing, but we knew nothing about it. And now, if you look out by the electoral office, you see who's supposedly supposed to be gangsters and thugs camping out there. But they're camping out there for intimidation tactics. Did you give this money to these guys so that you can have them in your pocket? Because we know how this works in America, where the politicians and the gangsters working in coke. And anybody who tries to upset the balance of the bread, well, you know what happened? So in our little country, this is the state of affairs. And you had supposedly educated people saying, oh, you're trying to bring down the government and the country. Things is good, everything is lovely. And no one of them has said nothing to us. So who are we supposed to believe?
Boy, I don't know.
Who are we supposed to believe? And you see this thing goes so far and so deep. As a journalist, I asked Dr. Douglas about campaign financing. Lindsey Grant was also the leader of PAM at the time, and I asked him the very same question in an interview. And both of them gave me the same answer. Two opposing political parties. One claiming to be righteous, the other one claiming to be more righteous. What about campaign financing, electoral reform? Well, unless the people want it, you know, we can't do anything about it. It has to come from the people. The people have to demand it. So you want to tell me people hire you to go in there to manage their affairs. You don't see nothing wrong with the system because you're benefiting from it if you're in government. So unless the people say we want electoral and campaign financing, you ain't going to bring it. But we didn't ask for FATCA. We didn't ask for you to go in the House of Parliament to charge us $5,000 or $3,000 if we drop down 10 inches below the windscreen. We didn't ask you for that. You're giving us all kind of piece of legislation and amendment that we did not ask for. But the one thing that we could use so we could have a better state and a better country and a better society, you not do it because you got to come from the people there. So you understand how these politicians are thinking. The system works for them and they're not going to change it because it works for them.
Yeah.
Integrity in public life, nobody wants to bring it. Because for the minute you bring it, then no longer you could charge $1.2 million to push off a piece of land will only cost $40,000 to do. You can no longer sign a deal and say, well, okay, then on the back end, if the deal is $5 million, okay, then put in an invoice for 8-point-something mil. So the extra $3 million gone in somebody's pocket. And he ain't going to the bank system, he walking in cash, my lord. You understand? This is the state of affairs that we got. And ain't just now we got it all the time.
Yeah.
So when are we going to change it? When? Mr. Cornelius, I feel your pain, and I hear the frustration in your voice.
Boy.
But you have to look at things from a realistic standpoint. The politicians fully well know that their lack of performance is the reason why they need money to buy votes and buy elections, and nobody is willing to put in the performance. They do just the bare minimum, and they want the biggest praise, and like Ben and the story.
Bye.
So we know the supporters of each party got to impress upon their politicians that you got to walk.
Yeah, we have to.
You got to walk.
I know when I come here to win the film, I can't skylark. So.
No, you go do your work. And when you do your work and you have a good voices program, you don't get pat on your back because that's what they pay you for.
Exactly.
The callers could tell you had a good job, but your boss don't need to tell you that.
Yeah.
He paying you to host a good job. But no. Mark Brantley said it himself. Hamilton couldn't get out a host unless Timothy was there to take some of the praise. Them kind of petty. My lad, all the people here,
all right.
just stay firm and just relax your soul.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, we're still taking your calls here on Voices on WINN FM 98.9. It's 8 minutes past the hour. We'll take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, I too feel the frustration. All right. But I am one of the advocates who keep saying you must change and keep changing until you get the change you want. Because I've challenged repeatedly, what is the alternative to that? If you can find a better alternative to getting the change that we want, I'm all for it. But nobody seems to have come up with any solution to that. Okay? I mean, I've had a friend, I remember a friend, who just as a matter of principle, he says he votes opposition all the time. And the reason he does that is that he too is cynical and feels all the politicians are the same. And why should we reward politicians who mess up with second terms? Okay? So he just votes opposition all the time. No, I don't think we need to get as cynical as that. Okay? As you pointed out, what is needed is for people to hold their elected officials accountable.
Right.
The fresh face thing isn't going to do it because, as was pointed out, Keela Byron Nisbet is a fresh face, but she's totally eclipsed by Prime Minister Harris, who just knows the old way. He has perfected the transactional politics. It works well for him. He's not going to change it. And because she's overwhelmed in his party, you can't expect any change to come from her. You scarcely hear her. Right? And so the fresh face alone won't do it. What will do it is a change of the systems that hold all accountable. Whether they're old or they're fresh, they have to operate under the same system that's going to hold them accountable. Otherwise, we're just spinning top in mud. We're not going to get anywhere. Okay? And why do we have opposition? We have opposition in a democracy to provide an alternative. Choice is very important in a democracy. Without that, you don't have a democracy. All right? You must have choice. And so if a current set of people who are leading us are messing up, you have every right to go for the alternative. Right? Because if you don't go for the alternative, you are rewarding their messing up. You are rewarding the current crop of politicians who are messing up. So you must go to the alternative. Don't tell me that, well, they used to do it too. Well, they used to do it too, and they got thrown out of office. Hopefully they've learned their lesson and would do things differently. If they haven't, if they still insist on the old ways of doing things, then it's throw them out too. But you can't keep keeping the same set of politicians in there who we know are messing up and expect things to change. That would never, ever, the change that we're looking for would never, ever happen that way. I agree that from time to time, and it's rare, but from time to time, an exceptional leader emerges who don't care about the power and the greed and all of that. They want to go in and make a big difference. And when you have people like that, the changes we want can be effected. You know, you can think of leaders, exceptional leaders like people like Mandela and Gandhi and those kinds of people, Martin Luther King, who bite the bullet and decide to do things the right way, even though it's hard to do, okay? And they make a difference. But unfortunately, those kinds of leaders are few and far in between. And we have to work with what we have. But the way to work with what we have is to hold them accountable. That's the only way. So until we get the systems, and it isn't that they don't know what these systems should be, all of them know it. But it suits them once they get into power to maintain their power. And so they're not going to change it. So until we get the change in the systems that we talk about, until the organs that hold and entities that hold these politicians accountable work, because we do have some. It's just that they're not working. Okay, we have a public accounts committee. We have the integrity commission. We have the law courts. We have civil society.
All right.
But everything seems to be failing us. And so until somebody can come up with a different way of achieving the change that we want, I still maintain that we change governments and keep changing them until we get the change we deserve.
All right. Caller, thank you for your contribution to this program. We'll take this short break to give a shout out to the sponsors. When we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. We'll take this short break and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tax Specials from May 5th through 18th. IGA peanut butter, just $8.99. IGA or essential everyday microwave popcorn, $5.99. Quaker Oats, regular and quick, $13.99. Philadelphia cream cheese, $12.99. Morningstar meatless entrees, $18.99. Suavitel fabric softener, $16.99. And now our very low weekly
value deals. IGA Essential Everyday Cornflakes, $7.99. Essential Everyday Barbecue Sauces, $6.99. Essential Everyday Ketchup, $4.49. Equaline Mouthwash, $13.99. Essential Everyday Apple Juice, $7.99. Arm & Hammer Liquid Detergent, $31.99. Shop smart, shop value man. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a
Value Mart.
Found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
Manifest your desires, celebrating mothers in May. Manifest your desires while we celebrate mothers in the month of May at Horsewood's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store. Get 20% off store-wide on big and small appliances, bedroom and dining room sets, stoves, refrigerators, smart flat screen TVs, living room sets, mattresses, dryers, blenders, toaster ovens, and much, much more. Manifest your desires while we celebrate mothers in the month of May at Horsewood's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store with 20% off store-wide. Manifest your desires as we celebrate mothers in May and get 20% off store-wide at Horsewood's. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
And we are back with more voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. 17 minutes past the hour. We end at 1:30. I'll be taking some more calls to hear from the listeners of WINNFM 98.9. Your take on the political climate in St. Kitts and Nevis, all that has been happening. And so we're going to head back to the phone lines and take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm good, man. What about you?
Okay. I want to suggest to you, Devon, and to us, that our elected leaders are a reflection of our values. We elected them based on what we want them to do for us or what we believe in. For example, the majority of the voters in the Federation seems to have the idea that Douglas was there for too long. And so we voted to get rid of Douglas. And so that is why the majority of us voted. And the list goes on. Now, let us come down to Harris, Devon, because people are trying to kill Harris. One, Harris' major fallout with Denzel Douglas was power. He wanted Douglas to move aside and turn the reins of power over to him. That was his major problem. Mark and Sean, along with the rest of their team, decided that they are going to feed the greed of Harris. And so therefore they were willing to join with him to get rid of Douglas as they wanted to get rid of Douglas, and in the process give him the reins of power. What they did not understand is that greed is like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the more you're going to want. And so having fed the greed of Harris, the thirst for power even got stronger. And so that's why Harris is not moving anywhere and didn't want to move anywhere in spite of his promise, because of his greed. Now, Devon, you spoke about being frustrated about the situation that we are in. My question to you is, why are we frustrated when we see wolves? We know that they are wolves, and we allow them to be the shepherd of our sheep. And then when the sheep are destroyed, or we do not know what happened to the sheep, we begin to make knives with the shepherd, when we know the shepherd are wolves. All of these individuals who formed this construction with Harris, let's say the majority of them, their character was highly questionable. Some of it was known to us in the public. And yet we went ahead and elected them to lead our country. What do we expect? We are told, lastly, that a leopard cannot change its spot. No matter what you do with it, it will remain a leopard. You cannot change the nature. And we could have never changed the nature of these individuals because they are a bunch of leopards or hyena fighting for the same prey. And so we are in this conflict here where we are because we elected wolves and hyenas to govern our country. And now they are destroying each other, fighting each other for the same prey. What is the prey? The money. Their eyes and heart are focused on who is going to control this money. And so it is our fault because we saw. We in Nevis, we recognize that the present premier of Nevis is an abject failure. We know that he is a pathological liar. We know that he's a man who built and creating discord as long as he do not have his way. We know that his attitude and Timothy Harris' attitude is the very, very same thing. But we trusted them saying that they're going to come together and what? Unity? Look, I said lastly, but let me say the last thing, Devon. There was no unity in the construct. Absolutely none. You hear Mark Brandt in his last run say the reason why they teamed up is because Dennis Douglas was there for too long. We know Harris was of that very same mindset. Sam Kanda was of a different mindset. Sam Kanda was talking about the land for debt swap and what's not. So they had different viewpoints, and when they came together, they were never settled on anything else other than to get rid of Douglas. They were never united in the first place. They were using each other to try to achieve their personal end. And it has backfired, and it has backfired greatly. And I'm going to say this, Harris should have fired them since Easter. That's the problem that I have with Harris. Since Easter, when they disrespect him as the prime minister and their boss, he should have never tolerated it. Fire them, call an election, and let the people decide who they want to lead them. But I hope that going forward here in Nevis, that we'll understand that we elected 3 persons who said to us, send them down to Church Street, and they are going to deliver for Nevis. All 3 of them was fired from Church Street. And I hope that the people of Nevis will turn around and fire them out of the parliament in Nevis. Thanks, Devon.
And thank you, caller, for your contribution to this program. It is 1:23, and we're still taking your calls here on WINNFM 98.9. Just a few minutes left before we wrap up the program for today. We're going to head back to the phone lines, and we're going to take some more calls. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I am an undecided voter because I get fed up with all politicians. There has no integrity, including every one of them. Mr. Douglas himself has a track record of misconduct. And I am not going to, I am undecided, and wherever I think will benefit my vote, I will do so. But right now, I am undecided. There has no integrity. Every one of them come up. All right, see you. Bye.
Okay, caller, thank you for your contribution to this program. You're listening to Voices on 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Of course, we end at 1:30. Coming up next, at 2 p.m., we have Happy Hour with DJ Jed Sounds. Then 3, we have Musical Search with DJ Flames. And, of course, at 6 p.m., we have our daily sports and newscast. Let's head back to the phone line. We'll take some more calls. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Cornelius, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I listened to the gentleman from over Nevis, right? And I think he was right in what he said. Right? But I would like the Prime Minister. I think he's not talking, and he's listening to everything. And when he's ready to act, he can act hard. I like him to come out and dirty Mr. Mark Bradley, Sean Richards, Mr. General Powell, and Mr. Lindsey Grant for their behavior in Parliament. I sorry that Mr. Evelyn and Mr. Jeffers had to get in it. Because if you look at Mr. Hamilton is being like a statesman. Even though that he knows something was going on, he just keep him out quiet, and then he just tried to do. Right now, because he is the deputy prime minister, they're having to kill as a traitor. You see them palm people having to kill as a traitor, you know. He should never take it. But see, the man going by principle. And when Dr. Harris opened up his mouth, and the whole nation know exactly what those vagabonds do to him and do to the Federation, I hope people will understand. These people is corrupt people and should never put in office. You have a good day.
You too, and thank you for contributing to the program for today. It's 1:27, a few minutes left before we end the program for today. Let me say thank you to all the callers for your contribution. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program today. was a very good show. Always good to hear from the different sides, different perspectives on the political landscape, climate here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We'll take a few more calls, so let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You are on the air.
Greetings, youngster. Greetings. Yes, and I respect the iron. I should have put on respect to you, man. I love the air. You see this, let me say this to the people that are saying. You see, our black race, we are true and grateful. Trust me. You know why we put all these big problems in St. Kitts? It's because we don't build a foundation. You see the honorable Denzel, we don't build a foundation in a man. That man here with the man with the tour of the world and getting happy for you. People talking about the language, the travel with the people because it's cruel and hatred. We don't talk about we don't forgive people, it does not. Mr. Douglas is an honorable man. People call the program why the man speaking and talking. Mr. Douglas is a thief. Douglas is that. So how must we respond? So it needs to be the Almighty. Come on, that's why we hear stuff when you're Douglas was here. Almost every one of them in this country, you know. Every one of them. And I don't think they should deal with the man like that. Just because the man aggressiveness and the man love for the country, they just feel like, oh, he like this, he like that. But here, it's not even all other politicians here. But I don't forgive them, but none of them that talks about W. None of them that talks about W. I mean, very like, if you stuff, you know, no W step aside up, putting body in front and still the open W. What W be? I can't ask that the man belongs to St. Kitts. And we got to respect W and put this country to do good. We got to honor and respect and represent to the Western government. Most of the president, because the simple people, they used to go down there and try after them. I want one to follow up people there. Go down there, was 200 people in my life. Call them out on the country, go back on it, and Dobby rise up and in this place here. Dobby and capture them. They make real chosen leaders by the ancestors.
All right.
Call them overseas, they don't rest them.
All right.
Man call him out, that little boy. He say he's a rasta, and he's trying to unite black people.
All right. We'll call it.
All
right. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We are out of time. We're going to have to wrap up today's edition of Voices. Of course, we come back tomorrow with Inside the News. Thank you so much for your contribution to the program today. Remember, coming up next at 2 o'clock, we have Happy Hour with DJ Jed Sounds. This has been Voices, and I've been your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Until next time, you guys stay safe and take care.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General Insurance, we will ensure that your property is properly covered with our private dwelling and contractors all-risk promotion. Visit or call us today and get affordable rates, premium financing arrangements. From now until March 31st, 2022, we will properly cover fire, lightning, explosion, thunderbolt, bursting or overflowing of water tanks and apparatus pipes, burglary, theft or larceny, impact by road vehicle, riot, strike or malicious damage, hurricane, earthquake or volcanic eruption, flood, collapse due to subsidence of landslip, loss of rent, cost of temporary accommodation, and much more. So get your property properly covered at SL Horsford and Company Limited, local agents for Guardian General Insurance today. Special terms and conditions apply. Call today at 869-465-9355 for further details.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
The views and opinions expressed in this program were solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WINNFM 98.9. WINNFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WINNFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
It's about that time.